Prince Lear is 8 years old, and his valet woke him up in the morning, and he's so excited because 8 years old for a Prince of Falconland is a big deal, really a big deal. And he's just quivering, he's so excited, and he tries to eat breakfast, but his stomach is jittery, and he's so excited. A group of draconian monks of the imperial order that guard the royal family and protect the monarchy dress him in full coronation royal robes. He has like a headdress that is real heavy and then has like beads that go down over his face, almost to kind of conceal his face. And his robes and stuff are so heavy with jewels, he feels like he's carrying another one of him around. And he's just, it took hours to get him, in the full get-up. And then normally he's guarded by human monks, but today is a special day, and so the Draconians are at the top of the Imperial Order, and they escort him into the throne room for a formal goodbye to his father, the king, and he's never seen his dad so emotionally distraught. The king was literally crying and hugged him and kissed his cheek and just didn't want to let go of him. And the Draconian, one of the monks, whispered something in the king's ear, and he stiffened up and turned his back. And the monks march young Prince Lear away and up onto a palanquin, and they hoist the palanquin on their shoulders. And the huge gates of the Hematite Palace open wide, and they march down these grand, shiny black steps and out to the main gates, which open into a city street. And there's just thousands and thousands of people along the street. It's a big parade. There are balloons, hot air balloon type things like the Macy's parade, and there's big bands, and there's regiments of tinsel dons, the mastodons with the tinsel hair, marching down the street with their full saddles, which are very colorful. And there's formations of falconeers. Falconland has a major air force that is these huge 16-foot wingspan falcons ridden by small humans. And they fly like the Blue Angels, or like Air Force, and do trick flights and formation over the street. And the young prince is just shiny-eyed and excited, and the crowd's cheering. And he notices that there's almost all the little boys are very, very poor, dressed in rags. But some of the very, very poor-looking boys are very fat and very chubby, and they don't look poor, and they're dressed in rags. And he doesn't really understand the whole thing about that. And he wonders why there are so many poor children, and where are the middle class and the upper class children. Maybe they meet him when he gets to school. And so they're walking down the street, and they take a turn kind of in a blind alley that's too narrow for a crowd. All of a sudden he's like bumped on the head, stuffed in a sack, and he's incoherent, and he doesn't know what's going on, and he's out. He wakes up dressed in rags, laying in an alley, and he doesn't know what happened. He gets up, he shakes his head, and he tries to find an adult to tell him, hey, I'm the prince, and I need to go back to the palace. And the first adult he comes to, he tells this to... That's what all paupers say on the day after Ascension. You're a good one. You say it so earnestly, like you really believe it. And he's given a penny. And he goes and tells adult after adult after adult that he's the prince and he needs to go back to the palace, and everybody laughs at him. And they give him pieces of fruit and pennies and stuff like that, and he's totally lost. And after like about a week of this, people aren't so generous with pennies and fruit and stuff anymore, and somebody tells him to go get a job, and kind of pushes him off towards a cabbage field where people are, using knives to cut cabbages. And after a day of cutting cabbages for a meal, he lays down in a ditch and covers himself with the leaves like the other workers did. And he's so miserable. He hurts, he aches, he's not used to eating this kind of food, and he misses his nanny, and he misses his dad, and he misses the palace, and he misses everything about home, and he's just utterly miserable. And he's kind of in a fog. He's not asleep and he's not awake when he stands up in the middle of the night and decides to go home, and he sees this big, beautiful house on the far side of the cabbage field, and he sets off towards it, and he tiptoes past all the guard dogs, and he slips between the bars of the gate, and he goes up to the door, and he tries to open the door, but it's barred from the inside. But he finds himself in this beautiful little formal garden, which reminds him of the palace, and he feels at home, and he sits down on the steps, and he falls asleep.